Mate, let's not beat around the bloody bush. Did Anthony Albanese just fake a faith flex to score votes from Catholics? Dead set, this whole thing stinks worse than a servo sausage roll left in the sun. You've got the Prime Minister, mid-election campaign, suddenly dropping tools because the Pope died. And not just dropping tools quietly, nah. He makes a big song and dance about it. No more campaigning today, out of respect, he reckons. Respect or strategy? Before we dive into the Albanese Pope Catholic vote mess, where Albo pauses campaigning, drops faith slogans, and the media calls it divine, smash that like button, like you're done with political theatre dressed as religion. Subscribe if you're sick of holy PR stunts. Grab the Promise Never Delivered Truth tee. Link below. Now, I'm not saying Albo isn't Catholic. The bloke says he is. But let's call a spade a spade. When a politician suddenly pauses an election campaign over something happening halfway around the world, you've got to ask, who's he really doing it for? Was it a genuine show of mourning? Or a cheeky grab at the Catholic vote? And don't tell me it's disrespectful to ask. If you think political tactics stop at church doors, you're dreaming. So picture this, the Pope cops it. Big global moment, millions mourn. But back in Aus, what does Albo do? He halts his campaign, for one day, mind you. And then what? He fronts up at a press conference like nothing's happened and drops this absolute perler. I was raised with three faiths, the Labour Party, the Catholic Church, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Oi, come again? You reckon a bloke mourning the death of the leader of his faith is going to use that moment to belt out a slogan like it's a campaign poster? That's not pious. That's PR. That's not reverence. That's a bloody rehearsed punchline. And here's the kicker. He didn't even go to church on Good Friday. Yeah. The holiest day in the Catholic calendar, and the Prime Minister of Australia, who just paused a campaign for the Pope, skips it like it's a morning meeting he couldn't be asked about. Meanwhile, Peter Dutton, yeah, that Dutton, the one everyone calls cold as a Canberra winter, shows up to church. What does that tell you? Either Dutton's pulling a religious flex of his own, or Albo's devout Catholic title is more costume than conviction. And I know what some of you might be thinking. Oh, but he meant well. Or, let's not question someone's faith. Mate, in politics? If you think faith ain't fair game when it's weaponized for votes, you haven't been paying attention. Politicians will use anything, your wages, your worries, your weekend footy team, to get ahead. And faith? That's a gold mine. Emotional, deep, personal, exactly the kind of thing that wins hearts without needing policy. Let's be real. Pausing a national election campaign for a religious leader most Aussies don't follow closely is a big move. Did he pause for Queen Elizabeth when she died? Nah, and she's on our bloody coins. The Pope dies though, and suddenly Albo's on his best church boy behaviour. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with honouring your faith, but don't act like it's a personal, sacred moment when you're parading it in front of every camera you can find. If you were truly mourning, why turn it into a media op? Why not go to Mass? Why not speak from the heart, instead of regurgitating that tired old three faiths line we've heard since he was a backbencher? Because that's what it is. A line. A marketing hook. Something that makes Albo look relatable, humble and loyal. Labour Party? Check. Religion? Check. Footy? Triple check. It's crafted to make him sound like a down-to-earth bloke from Marrickville who just wants a fair go. And maybe he is. But on that day, it looked more like a bloke playing dress-up for the Catholic crowd. And you know what makes it worse? No one calls him out for it. Not properly. Everyone's too scared to be labelled anti-faith or divisive. But mate, this isn't about religion. It's about integrity. If Albo's decision was truly based on his faith, fine, show us. Walk the talk. Go to Mass. Skip the slogans. But when you cancel campaigning to honour the Pope, then pop up grinning at a press conference with a zinger about footy, don't act surprised when people reckon it's sus, and let's not forget the optics. Polling shows Catholic voters in Australia lean conservative, but in swing seats they can tip the scales. So what better way to nudge the needle than to show some well-timed piety? One day of campaigning down the drain, maybe. But if you win over the church-going vote, that's a net gain. Easy. And that's the thing. This wasn't some off-the-cuff decision. This was strategic. Calculated. Probably focus grouped to death. Because nothing in politics happens by accident. Not the slogans. Not the silence. And definitely not the sympathy stunts. The Labour machine would have seen the Pope's death as an opportunity, not just a tragedy. And Albo, seasoned operator that he is, knew exactly what he was doing. Even the timing was perfect, just far enough out from the election to win points, just close enough that the message stuck. Catholic voters got the nod. Media got their soundbite. And critics, well, they were told to respect faith. But respect is earned. And if you're going to use religion to pull votes, don't be shocked when people start asking questions. Albo's not the first to play this game, and he won't be the last. But let's not pretend it's anything other than what it was. A political move dressed up as devotion. And if you think I'm being harsh, ask yourself, if Scott Morrison had pulled the same stunt, how would the media have reacted? Would it have been called a touching gesture? Or would it be labelled cynical manipulation? You already know the answer. So, yeah, maybe Albo is a man of faith. Maybe he really did feel moved by the Pope's death. But if that's true, he's got a weird way of showing it, because nothing says mourning like dropping a slogan and dodging church on the holiest day of the year. Anyway, if you're sick of the spin, if you reckon both sides treat voters like mugs, hit that like button harder than the economy's been hitting your wallet. Sub if you're done with the phonies. And hey, grab the merch. Promise Never Delivered Truth Tea. Links in the description. At least we don't pretend to be something we're not. Catch you next time. And remember, trust in faith, not in politicians trying to sell it.